Welcome back to another episode of Capes and Tights, a comic book and pop culture podcast. I'm your host, Justin Soderberg, back for another episode of the podcast with two guests on Jay and Will of the Bangor Comic and Toy Con, and now the Maine Comic and Toy Con. We're here to talk last year's con, which happened in April, or this year's, I should say, the upcoming convention that's happening in Bangor, Maine, called Weekend of the Wicked in September into October, and the 2023 Maine Comic and Toy Con in Portland, Maine. So check this episode out. But before we get started, follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Capes and Tights Podcast, Twitter at Capes Tights Pod. Visit our website, capesandtights.com, or follow, subscribe, rate, review, all those things on Apple, Spotify, and all your major podcasting platforms. Until next time, enjoy Jay and Will from the Bangor Comic and Toy Con and the Maine Comic and Toy Con.
Live. This meeting is being recorded, just so you know.
Yeah, it's a state national FCC regulations. I don't know what that means, but it is kind of funny because it tells you in your ears too. And you're like, we're recording right now. I'm like, thanks. I pressed the button. I appreciate that.
I'm very aware.
Thank you.
Will and Jay from the Bangor Comic and Toy Con, and actually from the Maine Comic and Toy Con too. Look at that.
Oh, yeah.
And the Weekend of the Wicked and all that stuff, right? We're just going to say it all now.
Yeah.
I'm going to open a beer, actually. I didn't realize that, but I'm opening a beer.
There you go. I would have laughed if you guys were drinking the same beer.
We're not, but I think it's the same. This man's a lager. Yours are similar. It's not the same, but it's the same.
We're still drinking beer left over from the
con. So you're telling me to bring less this time?
At least you got it instead of Paul this time.
I made sure I locked the back door.
Paul getting evil eyes from the mall when he had like a beer on his table, like not even open. It was just there. Like the security guards in the mall were like, "What are you doing with that? What are you doing with that?"
Last time Paul was like, "You have like the beer that OBC gave us." Paul came in to grab a few things. He's like, "Yeah, can I grab a beer or two?" And I was like, "Yeah, go ahead. They're in the cooler." And I come in the next day to get some for Jay, and he took like 25, like all of them. The only thing he left was like that like pub beer or whatever, like the non-alcoholic one. And I was
literally
like, dude, I said you could have a beer, you could grab like 2 beers, not the whole fucking cooler.
That sounds like, that sounds right though. I texted Paul and said, "Hey, I haven't been to the shop yesterday or today because I've been so busy at work." And so I was like, "Oh, I'll swing by tomorrow and grab my comic books." He goes, "Bring beer." That's what he said to me. Bring beer.
It kind of works out that he took the beer that he did, because now every time I go to Galactic, he usually offers me.
Yeah, I usually bring beer here and there and get him beer down there. But
yeah.
So we're a couple weeks past Bangor Comic and Toy Con 20. It's hard to say your 2022 con because there's another one coming up. So it's like, I know, right? I say this is the April con that happened.
Well, right? the last April Bangor Comic and Toy Con, as you know it.
Yeah.
And people going into that weekend didn't know.
Nope.
No, there was very few people that knew what was going on.
It was very last minute, kind of it all happening. Will and I had accepted our fate and that we weren't going to be there. And that's kind of what sparked us moving down to Portland, was just like, this show's growing and we have nowhere for it to grow in. So we need to figure out something, because the mall is great. We love everybody there. It's been amazing what we've been able to do with it. But let's be real, it's not the proper setting for what we're doing and what we're trying to do.
Yeah, I mean, when you sit there, we had like, Kane, one of the first things he said in the car with us is, "So, this isn't a mall, huh?" And we're like, "Yeah." It's like, "I'll be honest, I would have canceled if I knew it was in a mall." He's like, malls don't do well for me. Now, obviously, the mall did very well for him here.
Yes.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like for us and even our standards, it's like, you tell somebody in some mall, or they go to look up the mall now, and it's like, your top articles are, "Oh, mall's condemned, parking lot this." Like, I'm not bringing my people there. Like, I will not allow my people to step foot in that. And they're absolutely right. I can't fault them for that.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of funny you say that, because I never even thought about that. I mean, the mixture of the bad publicity that the mall has been getting recently, plus with the fact that we're holding a convention in the mall, is already like, every time somebody gave us crap for it or kind of made like a side remark, all in fun, It was like, trust me, we're the ones that have to tell people this and then look at their face and see their expression change.
Yeah.
Yes. Hey, I always say it's really cool. And we talked before October's con about how cool it was to be in the mall and so on and so forth, was that it's cool. And it's like a lot of the people I talk to, the celebrities that when they, shooting the shit, walking around or whatever, they're always like, oh, this is kind of cool. It's unique. It's like, look at all the people walking around. It's a very unique con. But in the same sense, I drove away from the Comic-Con this year, like getting on the highway to come home. And I was like, it's also embarrassing because I love Bangor and I love the area we live in. I love the state of Maine. And some of these people's only experience they've ever come to Maine and they saw our mall. And I love the mall. Like, I'll always hold it dear to my heart. I love that the freaking BCTC has a store in the mall, like that stuff. And the Maniac Manor and Shane's spot over there, the photography, it's awesome. But it's like some of these people are never going to come back to Maine or not going to come back to Maine anytime soon. And that's what they got to see. It kind of made me like, okay, that's what made me go, okay, I'm cool. October's moving back to the Cross Insurance Center in Bangor. And then in April of next year, it's going to be in Portland at the Cross Insurance Arena. I'm like, okay, people are going to see some like sophisticated arenas that are like fairly new or renovated. And I'm excited for that. So there was this cool mix of both sides of it. Like you could probably see, you guys see from the guests too, that like they're cool to be there, but it's also like, holy crap, we're in the old clothing store.
Yeah. Like you said, I think that the first one in October it worked because we had the Clerks guys, mall rats. Like that was almost like, oh, we themed the convention by doing it in a mall around mall rats and clerks. So like that piece worked, but it's like after that it's like it's just not. And having Wallace this year to handle the tables and pipe and drape and all that, like it looked 10 times better than the company before that gave us white freaking backdrop,
grass,
pipe and drape with grass and stains on it, like and like everyone's good. And I think the plus side is all of the agents that we work with, they know us, they know the situation we went through, and they know like, hey, this was their only option, and I know these guys are going to take care of my people. And like, so, and that's what it was. Like, everyone's like, we even had like a author Mike reach out after and like, guys, like I've done conventions all over the country, all over the world. And he's like, I've never had anybody, any convention ever treat me the way you guys did. And it's phenomenal. It's like, I'm forever in your gratitude, and whatever I can do, I'm here for. And he already proved that because he just helped me and Jay land a guest for MCTC. That he's close with. So he used his word for that, and the guy's like, well, yeah, I mean, I trust you, so if you're giving me your word, then I'll give this place a shot. Let's do it.
That's been the greatest thing, and the take back that we've gotten from it is, I felt like we were still kind of living on the high from October, and then to go into April and get the same but better, like it was already a great response for October. I felt really good about what we did with the mall, what we turned it into, and then to get an even better response from these people about how we treated them. It's just been like the coolest thing to keep looking back on, is like how many times a majority of these guests that we had take Will and I aside, or just make a point to make a comment about how nice everybody was, how amazing the staff was, how helpful everybody was. Jim Winburn couldn't stop saying about how refreshing it was to see not only a convention that was running well. If there was a problem, somebody took care of it. If somebody on our staff didn't take care of it, Will or I jumped in and took care of it. And he was like, the amount of times I've been at conventions and I've seen the owners watch their convention fall apart and not do anything. He was like, it's unreal how many times I've seen that happen, where there's been an issue and it just doesn't get resolved. And like Will and I, again, every time people talk to us about that stuff, it's we're both dumbfounded because it just doesn't make any sense. Why are you doing it if you're just going to let it fall apart?
Like, where's your passion or love for it? And I think that's like, like you said, Jim went on for almost a half an hour in the lobby, just telling us that. And then Philip from American Tail, which is right in your little background there. He told us that, Mariana, one of our staff, any convention he does moving forward, he is going to personally fly her and her husband out, because he's done a number of conventions, but nobody has been as good with him and with the fans as she was. So he's going to put them up in hotel, will pay for their travel or for any convention he does to have them be there with him. And
unless the convention is on the same day as your conventions, right? Because you need her here.
Exactly. Yeah. She will be with us. And even like, even like Paul with with Gilbert and Primetime, multiple of our staff, he's like, hey, look, you guys are phenomenal. Will you guys come down to Rhode Island and sit with a few of our guests for us? Are you cool with that? And I was like, I don't care. Let him. More power to him. And then Trina, same with, she had Kyle, first year person with us. She's like, he was phenomenal. She's like, I would, same thing. I'd hire him to do all of my conventions for me. So it's just nice to hear those things and see how well how well the convention went. And I think it still blows mine and Jay's mind. Like, we'll have the agents or guests. We'll say like, you guys, how amazing we are and how great our staff is, and one of the best conventions they've ever done. And me and Jay will sit there and be like, I don't, thanks, but I don't really understand what we did differently.
Yeah.
Or like then other ones, they'd be like, you brought us coffee, and we're like, what? Like, we asked for coffee and you brought coffee. It's like, do you know how many conventions don't do that just don't care about us in that regard? I was like, I think that's just common courtesy. Like, it's like almost like that Southern hospitality. That's just how everyone here in Maine is. Like, everyone is just super nice and has everyone else's back, and will help them where they can.
Yep. It's a fascinating, and I get to see both sides of it. Obviously, when I'm at the con, I see your volunteers, I see all the people that are there, but I also I'm friends with you guys, so I see you guys a lot, work behind the scenes with you guys, and so you see a lot of it. And I see, it's funny, the difference between October and April for you guys. The difference on like Thursday night, for both nights, like in October, it was like, we don't have enough pipe and drape, we don't have this, and you guys are running around like a chicken with your head cut off. And on this year's like Thursday night, you're like, where's the beer? Because it was like, it was a completely different. Because you guys, it sucks that you guys are now going to the Cross Insurance Center, but it's also great. Obviously, it's great because it's the Cross Insurance Center. But now you guys have this down pat at the mall too. Like, you know exactly what to do next time if you guys had to do it again at the mall. Because this year it was like smooth and people were in the right spots, and it was like all the vendors were happy and the artists were happy, and it looked like the guests were happy. There was space to walk around, and it was just kind of funny that now you guys have it like perfect. Like, if anybody needs to hold a con at the mall, they should call these dudes so they can tell you how to do it. But obviously, it's just going to get easier for you guys moving to the Cross Insurance Center. Like, you have that help of a company who puts events on for a living. So
that's one thing that's going to be kind of crazy. I feel like now, we have a team that we had to spread out in such a different kind of way to make sure that people were where they're allowed to be in the mall. Where now it's like anybody that had to stand in front of a doorway that had to make sure you were part of the event, they don't have to do that at once we're at the Cross again. And everybody that's in the building is supposed to be there. That's a huge thing we don't have to worry about now. They have their own kind of security and everything in place. The floor is going to be set up for us. They tear down, they clean up, so I wonder if it's going to be like even smoother though with us, because now we're taking just everything we know how to do as a team and we're putting ourselves in the proper venue again. So I'm wondering if it's going to be even smoother.
Yeah. And to Jay's point with that too, like you said, like, and like you said too, Justin, it was, before it was like we were running around like chickens with our heads cut off. They've had vendors that are like, man, like you guys, like, he's like, you guys are now on Steve's level, which is Steve who runs Rhode Island.
Yeah.
He goes, you don't see Steve on the floor unless there's an issue. He's like, last time is like, I'd see you guys at least 10, 15 times a day. He's like, I maybe saw you guys 2 or 3 times all weekend. So he's like, that just shows like, your team was on top of it. You guys were all on top of it. And I think like, to Jay's point, we're now at the point where I think we have such a well-rounded team around us. And like they understand like those roles. So there you've got you've got just the floor staff or people that were on doors that we can spread in other areas. But now they know there's a chain of command. Like, Mickey's our vendor person. That takes the whole weight off of my shoulders. That now I might have to be like, hey, I'm a con owner or co-owner. I'm splitting booking talent for the event. I'm also booking artists for the event. I'm trying to handle making sure all the hotel piece is taken care of. Oh, I'm dealing with flights, and then I've got to deal with vendors on top of that. Like, it's a lot of things to juggle. So now having somebody like Mickey, who like that's just on point, having Rudder for the floor, having Ben for panels, like we had all these things fall into place. And like you said, you saw it was a very well-oiled machine. And I think having those things over now, it's okay. Mickey doesn't have to worry about building the floor plan. We don't have to worry about directing people where to set this stuff up. They're going to set it all up. We've already got a floor plan in place. We've got the final copy, so they know how to set it up. When we get there, if we need to rearrange things or ask them to move it, they'll move it. But yeah, I mean, it should be such a more well-oiled machine. And, hopefully moving forward, we know that this was first time we had a convention in the same space, for multiple years. Every time it was we started off at the ballroom, then nothing, came over here. Now we've done it twice, but I guess at least knowing the cross, knowing the arena, I think will be good.
And it gives you the opportunity that you have October to do Bangor, which is slightly smaller arena, a smaller event, to kind of get you guys ready for going to Portland. And if anybody doesn't know who's listening to this podcast, is that so September 30th to October 2nd is the Weekend of the Wicked put on by Bangor Comic and Toy Con in Bangor at the Cross Insurance Arena. And then in April 28th, 29th, 30th. In Portland, Maine, at the Cross Insurance Arena. I know anybody who's from out of state listening to this will understand that, yes, our two civic centers in the state of Maine are the center and the arena. But yes, not to get them confused, one's in Portland, and that will happen in April, like I said. So yes, so having October to be able to get that slightly smaller event, but still a big event, and then ramp up to having Portland in 2023 will be huge for you guys. I mean, I'm so excited. It's I'm already planning okay, I got to be down in Portland that week and be down there because I'm excited for you guys to get this going. Before I forget, you mentioned Jim Winburn really quickly. I wanted to mention, so I don't know if I probably told you guys individually or not, but there was when I was explaining to someone when they had the horror, you guys had their panel room set up and their horror panel was on there. I had Kane and RA and Jim on there. And
so bummed I missed.
And so it's and someone goes, who are the people up there? They didn't know who they were. They just say, I said, it's Kane Hodder, Friday the 13th and RA from Leatherface from Texas Chainsaw Massacre. And that's Jim Winburn. He did stunts on Halloween. He did it on Escape from New York and Tron. And he goes, the 2000, the recent one. I'm like, you look at that guy up there. He's 95 years old. He has done stunts in a movie since 87. I don't know what you're thinking of the new Tron movie. Yeah, that's the guy who did stunts in the Tron movie. I'm like,
yeah. At 80 years old, he was just out there doing stunts. No big deal.
I was like, that is perfect. Oh God, yeah, and it was great. I mean, the panel room. That's just speaking on that. Having it being visible to people at the mall and not having it way down at the other end was huge too. I feel like your panels were well attended in the fall, but they were even more well attended. Oh, he had more people attending too. Record 7,500 people, but there still was more people sitting down because they could just walk by and be like, "Oh, I have a ticket. What's this?" And they walk in and sit down, even if they weren't planning to go to that, which was really cool. And then Shane doing photo ops was huge too. Shane Grant photography,
phenomenal job on the.
Oh, when those photos came out, I'm like, oh God, I got to get these photos for myself, and it was pretty pumped about that. So you just had a great team and a great event for sure. I mean, I don't think I saw anybody mad, even if someone's not standing in front of their table, waiting for an autograph or a photo. They were out front talking to people walking by. If someone walked by to go see Kane Hodder, Joshua Michael was like, "Hey, how's it going?" He was just talking to people and something that I'll say it over and over again with you guys. Something you don't get at Rhode Island. I love Rhode Island, but you just don't get that because it's so big and so many people there. You don't get that small town feel, and that's what the Bangor, at least this last one had, and hopefully at least October will have. And eventually, I'd like to see you guys get to the point where we're a little bit bigger than that. But it's nice to see those guests from out of state see that coming into town.
Yeah, no,
really cool.
I agree. That's the biggest thing that Will and I talk about, trying not to lose. We don't know if that's just something that's going to have to happen organically. We don't. I personally, Rhode Island does a phenomenal job with what they do. I personally don't understand how they can handle 130 celebrity guests. I personally don't want anything to do with that. Having that. Right, many.
It's
3
crazy.
Different rooms full of celebrity guests easily.
Yeah.
It's absolutely, every time I see them announce a new person coming, I'm like, wait, what? This year? The same event? What's going on?
It's unreal. Yeah.
It's really cool. I mean, like I said, I was so excited this year. You guys, the guests, the horror, the idea behind it. And the same thing in October, you had the Clerks theme, you had the horror theme. But you got to go right. The funny thing about the pandemic, you went from a con to a con to a con. Like you're having 3 within 18 months of each other now, technically, right?
There's gonna be four within a year.
Yeah.
Four.
Or 2 years. Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
within 2 years. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's but that's crazy. So you guys had October, April, and then you'll have October again or end of September. Are you guys just saying October because it's like mostly in October?
Much. Yeah, that's what it feels like. And I mean, I think that moving forward, the goal will be always the first weekend in October, technically.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, because that obviously worked out for BCTC. We're far enough from Halloween and and finals and hunting season. I think that was the toughest thing when Chris was doing it prior. Is he would always do it later in or like the weekend before Halloween. Then you got like, okay, opening season for opening weekend for Patriots, hunting season, like all these big things, Halloween, like so people are tied up. So with this, we still like you can't go hunting yet. Football's not on, and so.
But you're still in the mood for Halloween.
Well, yeah,
like,
it's
still
it's a good way to like basically kick off Halloween month, right? I mean,
Yeah, absolutely. That's the best way to think about it. And we'll always try. Like the one thing, this is going to be, there's a lot of trial and error with what we're doing with the convention. And I think we're finally getting on the track where it's going to find its home. These are going to be the home moving forward for the foreseeable future. The BCTC in Bangor, the MCTC in Portland. I think that seeing that like snowball effect go, and just now we have a really good system and it's just moving forward. I don't really know how to say it any better. It's just like, I think we're finally going to see this event find its grounding and just continue to grow, but on what we're doing, not this like, well, we figured it out here. We figured it out here. We made this work. Okay, cool. Now I think we finally have found our foothold. If to say, I don't know any other way to say it.
Yeah. Well, I will say is with your going to the mall or even just doing events now, and I think it has something to do with post-pandemic, or we're not really post it, but like post the heart of the pandemic is I had people that I saw at the con that I'm not used to seeing at conventions like that or things like that. Like things that I am kind of the outlier at work, where I'm like the one that likes the comic books. There's a few people who read comics, but they're not like into it like I am. And some of them didn't come to the weekend of the convention. But like I saw other people there that I'm like, that have no idea who half these people are. And they're swinging by Steve Marto's table and like looking through his artwork and stuff that like, you never know. And like, maybe next time they'll come to October just because of the time. And I don't know, they probably weren't even a purchase ticket a person. Like they might have just stumbled into the mall and saw it. But like, if that means they're going to buy a ticket to the Weekend of the Wicked in October, that's awesome. Like it's a way that like you were able to market your cons moving forward, even if you're not going to be back at the mall. There's so many people that weren't ticketed buyers to your guys' spot that saw what was going on. That's going to be like, okay, now I need to know what's going on in October, and I'm going to go to that.
And that may have been enough. Also, like one of the biggest things I've noticed is the knowledge of what we're doing, not necessarily knowing who we are personally, but knowing of the Bangor Comic and Toy Con or like a Maine Comic Con. And I think that the mall, the foot traffic, that random foot traffic that we had and everything, and being in that random location that kind of, things happen at an event center all the time. So it doesn't really spark, this weird interest if an event is at the event center. But us moving to the mall and having that happen, I think piqued a lot of interest, showed a lot of people who we are. So now moving forward back at the Cross, we may have a whole totally different group of people that may have never even cared to know who we were.
Yeah, absolutely. It's gonna be so much fun. So this episode will air on Tuesday, May 17th. We're on Thursday before. So I know we have some guests that are coming up that I want to just like tease some guests. You've already announced some, but Will, do you want to go over some of the guests that are coming?
Yeah. So far we've announced David Naughton, who is American Werewolf in London. Absolutely phenomenal horror movie. The whole transformation of from human to werewolf, that like how they pulled off that special effects. And this is his first time up past New Jersey for any event.
That's awesome.
So it'll be huge. We announced Tony Daniels, and who is Gambit and the X-Men animated series, and then the new X-Men animated series that's coming out. He'll be reprising that role. And
I didn't know that part. That's awesome.
Yeah, him and is it X-Men 83 or something like that?
Avengers or something 83.
Yeah, something like that. So he's as far as he's reprising that role as Gambit, and Lenore, is that how Lenore? I'm not even going to try to pronounce her in the last name. I'll butcher it. But she was Rogue.
Yeah.
So like Gambit and Rogue together, and she's also going to be reprising that role in that show. It was just I noticed it on her IMDb the other day when I was getting her bio. So
I didn't even know that when we booked him. I was just
I didn't either. So that's a nice little tie in there. And then we have 6 or 7 other guests.
Yeah, that are being announced this week.
This Saturday, which will have an effect because we'll come out after, but we'll be doing a teaser for something that ties into to Maine for that.
Yeah.
So
I was gonna say check out the Bangor Comic and Toy Con's Facebook page for all those announcements and Instagram, because this week we're currently in. You're announcing a bunch of guests as well.
So this week's all artists. So we did Ben Bishop, Joseph Schmalke, in 8 minutes on Facebook. It'll be Bob. Bob.
Tatrick. I can never say it. Every time I say it, someone says it differently. So I'm like, it's Bob.
I learned
it's Bob. And I was like, oh yeah, Bob. I know Bob. And then we've got, I think, 3 more that I'll have to try to sneak in. So I'll probably do 2 tomorrow and then do 1 Saturday afternoon to wrap those pieces up. And then Saturday night we'll do the teaser piece. And all the following week it'll be a big whole group announcement of people. That's awesome.
It's exciting. And so the X-Men thing was really cool too, because I love like if you think about when Kane Hodder came and RA and all those guys, they're in small things nowadays. Like those are classic vintage horror people, but like some of the people that we got, the kind of the replacement people you even got at the end, because some of the guests that had to cancel and you had to replace them were currently in things, which is really cool too. And then other guests you had were also currently in things, but like to see someone like, oh, we're going to get someone from the old X-Men animated show. And then to come to find out that like, they're not only are they going to be in that or in that like there's a show coming out with them in it as well. And in between the time Lenore was on the animated show and now she was served in Parliament in Canada. Did you know that?
Yes. Yeah, she did. Yeah. When I pulled up her bio at first, I was like, is there 2 Lenores? Like, it literally said nothing about her acting career. It was all about like her time, like Parliament and the government and like serving on this. I was like, weird. There's 2 Lenores from Canada, I guess. Like,
I'm just thinking of how badass it would be.
Both in it.
Yeah. How badass would it be that if we had like a senator in the state of Maine who like used to be like an animated X-Men TV show voice? Like, I don't care what your platform is. I'm like, vote yes. I want that person.
Well, it's not the Parliament, but I didn't even realize that Tony Daniels was Tony the Tiger.
Yes. Yeah. That's also good.
Yeah.
So that's the fun part. You guys get someone, they probably pitch them to you in a certain way, but then you go look at their IMDb and you see what they were in. Is also fun.
All the time. Like there's times when people like Randy Havens that came, when they sent us his promo photos, to be like, you can use these for the promo images. I'm like, it's all Stranger Things. I mean, I know that that's a big deal, but he's been in a lot of other stuff. And it's like that with a lot of guests. They'll give you like 2, maybe 3 things that they're really known for. And then you look and you're like, well, why didn't we put this on here? That's amazing too.
Right. Well, like you were talking with Peter about Roger Jackson. Yeah. It's like, Ghostface, Mojo Jojo, this, that. But we were talking, he's like, he's like, I've been repping him for, this, for years. And I just found out the other day that he's also Mr. Mucus from the Mucinex commercials. And he's like, so now we've got that on his banner and people freaked out about that. And he's got 8x10s for that and have people ask for that voice.
Well, talk about a random one for me that like, it's like going to a show to see one band and then another band. You're like, who's this? And they play a song that and you're like, that's this band. I have no idea. That was him. I was buying VHSs of the different people that had a movie that came out on VHS, and I happened to buy Mars Attacks because I just love that movie. Yeah. And I was like, it'd be so cool if somebody randomly here had something to do with Mars Attacks. And sure enough, I look over at Roger's banner and it says Mars Attacks. And I'm like, are you kidding me right now? So I'm like, Roger, what did you do in Mars Attacks? And he just breaks into the voice of the translation of the aliens when they address everybody with the ack, ack, ack. And he breaks right into that voice. And I'm like, are you kidding me right now? That was you that did that? And I was like, you got to sign this VHS. So now I've got my Mars Attacks VHS signed by Roger Jackson. So I'm pretty happy about it.
I love that you brought up Roger Jackson, because I was speaking of it, because I help you guys out with some things like the graphics and stuff and help out with the here and there. And I'm like, you guys were like, yeah, I'll get a couple autographs for you. Because obviously, as you go to cons, everybody charges for an autograph here and there. And it depends on what you have. And Roger Jackson was the one that I was like, I'm going to go get myself. And so I went and got it myself. And I'm so glad there's like certain people where I'm like, cool, you guys can go get the autograph for me. That's awesome. I really appreciate that. And then there's certain ones where I was super happy that I went myself. When I got my Fievel record or my Fievel Laserdisc sign, it was so amazing to meet Glasser and have him meet him. But like Roger Jackson was one of those ones who was so like ecstatic to meet his fans. Like how many times has he met a fan? It was just like he took a selfie for free for taking an autograph. He wrote something to me, spoke to me in different voices. That was just like, this is amazing. Yeah. Like this guy is just like, living his best life right now. And it's the funniest thing that like nowadays with you guys doing things like conventions, it gives people the opportunity who may never have ever done this again, the ability to relive those memories over and over and over and over again. That like San Diego is obviously San Diego, but without these small ones, some of these people that are on the fringes would never get an opportunity to get known for their fame. And so that's like Roger Jackson. I never knew what Roger Jackson looked like in my entire life until you guys had me make the graphic for it, because he was the voice behind a bunch of stuff.
Yep.
And it's unbelievable. Yeah. It's insane. It's the same thing. How many people know though, how many you guys have, I don't know anything about the anime stuff. Obviously, Will, you know a little bit more anyway. But like the number of young 10, 12, 13-year-old boys and girls walk into that thing and they walk around and they're like, oh, that's the voice of so-and-so. I'm like, how the hell do you know what they look like? I'm like, I'm sorry. Like I'm watching Futurama now on TV with my wife, and I'm like having to look up the people that are voicing the characters. I don't know what the frick they look like. And these people just walk into the room and they know the voice actor for the thing. Like it was fascinating.
Well, that's another
so yeah, well, like for me, like with that, it's like Justin. I mean, I know Deku. I didn't know what Justin looked like. Obviously, once I met him, like, okay, well, there's for people that hadn't even seen, they've never met him before. And he's got his face mask on, and they're walking down the hallway, and like we're walking back from the green room, and you've got people in his line that are like in a line already waiting to meet him outside the room because his snake line's built up, and he walks by, and like, I mean, he's got a hat on, his face mask. Like I wouldn't have been able to pick him out.
Yeah,
and
no way.
People notice, and they're like sitting there like almost faint, and they're bawling their eyes out. And I was like, how? Like I would have, like, if this were me walking by and I didn't know who this guy was, like hadn't met him before, I would have had no clue. But like you guys can see him halfway down the hallway and instantly know, oh my God, that's him.
So I say that I'm not an anime fan, but now that I'm thinking about it, like I know what comic book artists look like. So I guess it's just where your passion is. You know what I mean? Like I know what, rest in peace, George Perez passed away this week. And to me, when I met him at a con in Massachusetts, I knew immediately what he looked like. I was like, oh my gosh, that's George Perez. And that's, again, it's different where your passions are. I've just never really been into anime. And so, but I will say I was huge into the animated X-Men show, and I had no idea until I saw the pictures of Tony and or Lorana or Lauren, whatever her name is. I can't say her name.
Lenore.
Lamar. I didn't know what they looked like.
Ball.
So Gambit's one of my, Jay knows Gambit's one of our favorite people. We didn't know what Tony Daniels looked like before that, did you?
I mean, but that could be
looks exactly like Gambit, doesn't he?
Yeah, exactly.
He kind of does.
Right.
He looks like Tony the Tiger, right?
Yeah. Blue nose and everything.
It's just fascinating. That's how many people are absolutely, and that's, like I said, the fringe people, because like obviously with a con the size of Bangor Comic and Toy Con, and there's going to be a limit to the Maine Comic and Toy Con what you can bring in. I know you guys just tweeted out or Facebook posted out there, like you guys signing the largest contract you guys have in a while, and that's a big step for you guys. But like there's a point too where there's a person you guys can't get, or not can't get. It's not smart for you to get. Like, obviously, you can get whoever you want as long as you guys paid out of your own pocket. Like, it's not hard for you to do that. But it's just, there's a limit where you know where you can get. And so there's a certain level that you guys get at these cons. And it just, like, it just fascinates me that, like, Jim Winburn, like, guys in his 80s and going to conventions and saying hi to fans and taking photos of. That's my favorite photo I got of the weekend, by the way, because I didn't do anything. I just stood next to him. And it looked like he was not even as amused to be there, but I knew he was. it just looked like he's like, oh, whatever, let's just take this photo. I'm like, God damn it.
Yeah, he was like the most appreciative person.
I know.
86 years old and he traveled across country.
Dude, the fact that like, no, I'm not gonna throw anybody under the bus, but like it broke my heart that like we go out to dinner Friday night, and of course, out of anybody at that table, like 25 people, Jim's the guy that his dinner didn't come out, and then like everybody's almost done eating, and it's like, hey, Jim's food hasn't come out, and it's like, are you kidding me right now? Jim of all people is just sitting there like a little sweetheart, like being like, man, I haven't got my food yet. Oh well.
Can I make a joke? I can make this joke, but you guys can't because you guys booked him, and he's usually eating at 3:30 in the afternoon. So.
Right.
He was starving to death.
Well, I think the best part of that whole thing too is like once we all realized when his food finally came in, like it just like everyone just like started like applauding that he finally got food, and he lost it. He was laughing, and yeah, I mean he was just, it just blows my mind. And like meanwhile we've got security guards here in the mall that can't even stay awake for a full shift. Yes. And this guy's 86 years old, getting on planes and sitting here all day, signing autographs and meeting his fans and telling story after story after story to all of us.
Yeah.
And like the guy's just as like sharp as can be.
Yeah.
And, like he'll sit here and tell you a story.
What is going on?
What is happening?
Well, the mall's closed and somebody's not good at parenting, so they're letting their 2-year-old or 3-year-old comes running over to the gate, and he's like yelling at me like, time to go, gotta go. And he's trying to like lift the gate to get me out of here. And I was like, just like trying to ignore it so I can focus on this.
So wait, now the mall has 75-year-old people with security and a 3-year-old with security. I don't know what's going on over there.
But budget cuts, right?
That's so funny.
Namdar's doing its best.
Yeah. I was gonna say, I mean, one of the nice things though is like when you speak of somebody like Jim is that we kind of have that privilege of getting these people that are legends in what they do and are maybe not planning on doing this. Like he could have said no, but the best thing that we have going for us is the fact that we're in Maine. Is like the amount of times that we've gotten people that have agreed because they've been like, well, I've never been to Maine, so let's do it. This is happens a lot, actually.
And in October, you'll probably get that even more because like end of September, someone might come in a day early or stay a day late so they could go like Bar Harbor, because that's still time for Bar Harbor and stuff like that. I mean, April's a little early for that. You still can go down there. But like that's a cool thing. And like when you guys go to Portland for MCTC, you're going to have that ability of people going to the old port and like going to the ocean, shit like that too.
The old port.
Yeah, I think that's one of the coolest things with our convention is like, we have Con Mom, which we all know, but she's an amazing person, and we will straight up say, hey, look, if somebody wants to come in on Wednesday, or a few of you want to come in on Wednesday, and on Thursday, we'll load you up in a van, and we'll take you out to Bar Harbor for the day, and we'll take you up, up Cadillac Mountain, and out and explore Bar Harbor for an afternoon. Like I think that's one of those cool tie-in pieces for them. Like, yeah, I want to do that. I want to go see. What is Sand Beach? What's Thunder Hole? But we get to bring them to do those things. No other convention is doing stuff like that. And like you just said with Portland, it's the same thing. The old port, go see the lighthouses out there. Yep. Like, it's just the cool things that we'll be able to do that just sets us apart from others.
Well, it's actually kind of funny. I laugh because like the number one thing I hear people from the artists to the vendors, the celebrities talk to me about at the con was we get to see Stephen King's house, which is huge, right? Stephen King's house on West Broadway in Bangor. That they got to see Paul Bunyan down where actually people are going to be able to see that now in October because it's right outside the arena or the Civic Cross Insurance Center. And the other one was that we've got great weed shops. Like that was the funny thing. I was like the third thing on the traveling thing where it was like Paul Bunyan, check, Stephen King, check, weed shop, check. I'm like, oh, okay, sounds good. Check.
Yeah,
sounds good to me.
Shameless little plug, but the grass station, they take care of us every year, and it was no exception again this year. And yeah, it's like Kent Williams from My Hero and Dragon Ball Z was like, oh my God, it's like every other shop I see is a weed shop.
Yes,
it's like a cannabis. Like I'm gonna move here. This is amazing. So then what we would do at the end of the night, like Friday, Saturday, or Sunday, in the anime room, we had like the old, cash register system for Finish Line. And we have a code name, like either we're going to have a safety meeting or we've got waffles or whatever. So we was like, they made the joke like, oh, Will's Waffle House is open. And all the guests would just like come over and like, I'd like just take stuff out, let them start picking out whatever they wanted. But they were so they're like, how cool is this? Like we get to hang out, like everyone's nice. And then the hotel that we work with and stay at, they basically give us the whole backyard area to ourselves with a little, what do you want to call it? Fire pit? What is it, Jay? Not fire pit. You always make...
right.
Okay, it is. Oh yeah, because I usually say bonfire.
Bonfire. It's not a bonfire.
the fire pit.
He's
we
like,
sit out there
we all
and just
sit
drink
around and we just have a bonfire.
No. Jay, I actually want to tell your story when you were talking. You don't have to tell who it was, but there's a guest that you're with, that you were sharing drinks with, and you needed to leave.
Well, no, I can say who it was. It's just funny because with RA, I think it was Friday night or maybe it was Thursday night. But
Thursday night,
we were all hanging out.
I had to go get Roger and them.
Oh, right, that's what it was. Yeah, so people were still coming in and everything, and RA is a big fan of bourbon, and he loves his Evan Williams. And not my first pick on bourbon, so I bought Maker's Mark, and so I brought that back, and we went back to his hotel room. Yeah, we did.
Ooh.
And we hung out.
Did you slide into his DMs first?
If he knew what a DM was, but and
I think he does now after he met somebody.
Yeah, right. Seriously, somebody slid into his DMs. But yeah, so we're sitting there. We both got our drinks of like Maker's Mark neat, and actually, I go to pour him. This guy's 6'6" and very big man.
Yes.
And I pour in like this much Maker's Mark in his cup, and he's like, a little bit more. And I was like, okay. And so we're chilling there. We're sitting, and there's an ottoman in the middle. We both have our feet up on the ottoman, and I never thought in my life with Leatherface I'd be just chilling, drinking some bourbon with my feet up on an ottoman with him. But we're just like trading stories, and then I realized like, hey, I gotta go help. I gotta go do this stuff. I can't be here all night. So I just stand up. The second I stand up, RA's like, "You're not leaving, are you?" And I was like, "Is that a statement or a question?" I'm not exactly sure. I'm like, Leatherface is mad dogging me right now.
It's not even like he's a small dude.
Well,
it's like he's like a small dude either. He's like a large statured person. So it's like not even like, even if he wasn't a horror actor, you would still be like, I don't know if I want to say no to this dude right now.
Well,
like,
and he's like a biker too. Yeah, so he's got all the rings on all fingers. He's got his sleeveless button-up black, biker shirt. He's got his big white beard, his shaved head, and his sunglasses. So I mean, yeah, if I didn't even, I would already be like, I'm not messing with that guy.
Right.
Let alone he's known for killing people in movies. So
right, like the nicest dude you'd ever meet. Like I don't think we've ever had. Well, so Saturday night, Philip bought everybody's drinks when we were all just hanging out in the lobby. And then Monday, RA was like, oh yeah, I'd kind of like to stay another day. Can you guys let the hotel know? Like, I'll pay for it myself. We're like, no, we got it. Like, we'll take care of it. And he's like, yo, all right, well, that'd be mighty kind of you guys. Well, I'll take you guys out to lunch the next day. We've never had a guest that's like, yeah, let me take you guys out to lunch. Let me do this for you guys. And then the fact that he wanted to do that was just shows the type of character and person he is.
Well, the cool thing about Philip Glasser was, I don't know if you guys had a long conversations with him at all, but like he was saying that like his mom kept some of the posters he was selling at his table. There was like posters and something else from like when the movie came out, when American Tail came out.
Yeah, one of the posters has like the whole cast on the back.
Yeah, and he was like saying that his mom was like they were going through the attic and they found them. And first of all, he's like, who keeps these things? I'm like, well, your mom loves you. Like, I don't know what else you want me to say. But that like he has them now, and he was laughing. He's like, I don't even know if I'm allowed to sell them or not. I don't know if I'm gonna like get in trouble like Steven Spielberg's gonna come after me because I'm selling these things at cons. But whatever, man. Like. It was like sweet, and he doesn't do cons. He's like, this is like his, like he got back into it. Like he wasn't doing cons the longest time.
Yeah. And so we were talking in the lobby Saturday night. We were having drinks, and he was like, he's a producer now. Like he just sold 5 or 6 things to Netflix and somebody else. He was like, so, and the next year he's like, I got to pump out 5 movies, to honor my contract. He's like, so I don't need to do conventions. He goes, they're fun. I enjoy them. He's like, I'll never do a guarantee. He goes, I think that's stupid. He goes, I'm set on money. I don't need it. He goes, I don't want to put that stress on anybody else. So he's like, and honestly, the money I make basically just goes right back into all the alcohol that I buy all week, for the weekend. So, but yeah, he's like, I'll get asked all the time now. He's like, I'll do 4 or 5 shows a year and I'm content.
Mm-hmm.
I'll turn everything else down.
Which is cool because you guys got that. It's the same thing with some of your other guests. It's like they're not doing a ton and they decide. I mean, Tony Fleece, huge. Like it was one of my, when you announced and you told me that he was coming to the con, I shook a little bit. I was like, oh my God. Because Stray Dogs is one of my favorite comic books of the past 5 years. Like by far one of my favorite comic books of the past 5 years. And I love his artwork, but I love his writing too. And so when he came out too, it was like, oh my gosh, he's coming to Bangor. And I had him on the podcast a couple of weeks prior to talk about the convention and just his artwork and his Stray Dog stuff. And he's like, I do about 4 or 5 a year. And think about the fact that this guy does Star Wars Adventures for IDW. He does My Little Pony, and he has one of the top selling comic books probably on Image in 2021, 22. And it had
number 2 comic of the year.
Insane. Yeah. And he chose out of his 4 or 5 comic book conventions to come to his Bangor Comic and Toy Con. That's just it made me feel good. It made me feel amazing. It's amazing. And I said, how the weekend? He goes, oh no, I'll tally up when I get home. But he wasn't he was I was happy. I paid, I helped towards his thing. So it's the thing I've always said about you guys. If you guys got Scotty Young, Paul Eaton of Galactic Comics, and myself would probably, Jay, you'd probably pay for some things too.
Oh no, I would, trust me. And I try. Don't think I haven't tried. I've been trying for 3 years.
But Maine Comic and Toy Con is the spot. Portland is the spot. Now that you guys are going to Portland, it doesn't have to be this year, but in some time in the next 2 or 3 years.
Yeah, we're Jay's already on top. He's trying. Him and Tony Moore. We've been trying.
Tony Moore, and I've been trying for 3 friggin' years. I will get them.
Hey, I'm a premium Substack subscriber to Scotty Young. Maybe I should get some say in it. Hey man, I give you a bunch of money a year.
Maybe I should re-email him and tell him what we have lined up for Portland, and maybe that would change his mind.
That could.
He's never been to he's never been to Maine. He's never, at least never been to a convention in Maine.
Definitely not. Because I think for Maine, we would have been the only things that would have.
Well, I was going to say, where would he have gone?
Nothing else around here really does anything artist focused.
No,
it's more anime and cosplay elsewhere.
Here's my question to you: Say you had the Bangor Mall still, and you had Scotty Young. To me, Scotty would have to belong in the celebrities area, not on the he would have a line, I believe, too. Just it would be weird to put him. Because he's a slash in the between the two of them. He would be his own element kind of thing. It's a weird. I don't know if he would work in Bangor, at the mall at least. I think Portland's the place for him. I think we're ready for this. Come on.
I think so Let's too. Go. I think so too. Let's make it happen. I'm gonna try. Tonight I'll fire out another email. It's been
they just announced another event he's doing. So
yeah, see, look at that. It's not that far. You put Kansas, Kansas area.
Yeah, because there was Planet Comic Con in Kansas City the same weekend as ours. And he ended up doing that show.
I just wish they would tell me what they're looking for. I feel like each time it's more kind of I just wish somebody would be these are the requirements. These are what we look for. Tell me if I can make it happen, we'll make it happen. But I just don't. Anybody else it's so funny the difference between comic book artist and celebrity guests. Yeah. You can just get a hold of an agency for a celebrity guest and see if they're available and book them. Where with comic book artists, they're way more personal. They're way more they need certain.
They're much harder to get a hold of. Yeah.
Yeah, and they're way harder to get a hold of.
Which is weird because it was JM Lee that I reached out to, and within minutes he responded back to me. He's like, "Yeah, I'll do your convention, but it's this much money, and it's all up front. So as soon as I have that, you can announce me." And I was like, yeah, we're going to pass. I didn't even respond back. I was like, your guarantee for this is more than half of the guests I have coming to this event. And that's we love artists.
Yes.
But that's the tough thing for us is with the celebrities, there's always yes, there's a risk they're not going to hit their guarantee, but at least there's a way to make up that money. Whereas with a lot of these artists that have these higher guarantees, it's not even a guarantee, it's an appearance fee. Mm-hmm. So now you're just out that money. You're hoping people are buying tickets just for that person to come through the door to get your money back that way. Yeah. Which is to me, that's scarier than the guest piece.
if you can book like a glass room or some other anime person who doesn't have a guarantee, they hopefully can make up some of that space that you might have to pay for someone else that hopefully can balance it out. But yeah, you're right. If you had to pay a bunch of money for someone that you're not going to make any money on the back end,
well, that's the biggest problem that we've run into with Kevin Smith, and like we keep having people ask us about Kevin Smith, and it's very, very simple. What it comes down to is his requirements are just very different than the normal person that you would book. He's just not. When I tell people, I don't mean to sound like a dink when I say it, like he's just on a different level. You think about the fact that we were able to get the two Clerks guys and Jay, but we couldn't get Kevin. Like there's a reason,
And don't you think if we could have, we would have had him here?
Well, what's funny about that, you mentioned that, is I was just listening to the Kevin Smith's podcast, Fat Man Beyond, and they were talking about how he's doing more conventions nowadays. That he used to do almost none, and now he's started to open up a little bit more. And that Jason Mewes is the one that's been trying to convince him to do them. And Jason's like, "Oh, that's cool. You want to hang out with me?" He goes, "No, when you go to conventions, I make more money." Because people take the duo photos with Jay and Silent Bob and the autographs for both. He goes, "No, if you go to conventions, they make more money. I don't give a shit about you actually being there." Like, that's perfect. It's absolutely amazing. I just watched Jay and Silent Bob's reboot for the
Kevin's
first
another
time.
one of those, though. It's not even with Kevin. It's not a guarantee. It's an appearance fee. Like you're paying this, and you're hoping that you're going to make that off of that back off of your ticket sales. To balance out his.
And hopefully at some point you guys do
autographs.
Hopefully you guys get the Maine Comic and Toy Con to the point where you're just like, okay, we're gonna spend 15% of ticket sales on a person just to try to get ticket sales. That's all we care about. That's all that matters. And then it is what it is. But like, yes, you guys, it works differently. And I've worked in the back end. We've talked about this before on the podcast and your live streams over at the Bangor Comic and Toy Con's Facebook pages. I used to work in the concert promotion company too, and I used to know that's not guaranteed. It's again. You pay $50,000 for an artist to play the main headliner, and you just hope that you sell tickets because of that person's coming. There's no way to make that money back anywhere else.
Right. Yeah, I think like the plus two of like moving to Portland is going down there. We have the city. Basically, we have the city. We have the county basically behind us. Like the Cross is putting us in meetings with the Chamber of Commerce, with Department of Transportation. All of these things to help because they want to see this grow and succeed just as badly as we do. So I think even something like that, you go to a larger population, there's, major city hubs nearby. Well, there's so much more business there. And then there's a chance that those business are going to want to do, might do sponsorships. Like this past year with BCTC, technically Stephen King Tours was the only sponsor we've ever had. Like we've got people that like we work with, like like we partner with OBC, we do stuff with Season Cinema Club, but as far as like an actual like paid sponsor for us, Stephen King Tours has been the only one that we've had. So if we get those backings up here, that opens up the door to be able to have that wiggle room to do bring in larger guests. Or the same with Portland, having more avenues and businesses down there that people might jump on and be like, oh yeah, I'll throw in a sponsorship for this or that. And it's like, hey, look, now we know we've got $20,000 in sponsorships. We can go after this big name person because we can cover their guarantee just in the sponsorship money if for whatever reason, or money up front if they request it.
Mm-hmm. Well, isn't like the Rhode Island Comic Con, like all their things is brought to you by Cardi's Furniture.
Cardi's Furniture,
It says Cardi's Furniture in all their announcements too, which is pretty, again, probably a pretty good investment for a con like that. Because, I'm hoping at some point it's like, Joseph Schmalke, I talked to him over the weekend at the con, and he said that Wicked Boston is the return of the Boston Comic Con. Like it's a reinvigoration of Boston Comic Con. That Fan Expo is gonna like be behind Wicked, which is cool. And so you might see the Wicked in Rhode Island and Rhode Island, Wicked in Boston, and Maine Comic and Toy Con. Those three be like the New England cons. Would be huge. Obviously, you could Granite and all those other guys too. I'm not like trying to slide anybody out there, but I'm just thinking like I could really see that being that way. Knowing you guys and knowing the ambition and the want and the need and the effort you guys put into these cons, I could just see there's no stopping you guys. Like you guys can get to that point. You just need the venue and you need no pandemic, and that's what you need. And you guys would go like crazy distances with this. And I think that's what Portland is going to be huge for you guys. When you told me that, I was just like, when you guys announced it on that Saturday of con too, I was like, Jesus, I can talk about this now. Oh.
Yeah, like you said too. I mean, even just like this year at the mall, like going from the theater company for panels to now we're, to having that whole room for panels. Like, but now for Portland, like we're going to be having Aura, and like if anyone has been inside Aura, they already know how absolutely gorgeous of a venue that is. And if they haven't, they will. I mean, we'll be doing videos and whatnot, but they will see it is such the money that they put into that place to rebuild and remodel. And I was blown away when me and Jay walked in, and I can't wait for everyone to see like that's just another whole game changer for our event as far as panels and things we'll be able to do over there, and the elements that they can tie in with their live board and audio and lighting that just brings it to a whole nother tier.
And I don't want to get ahead of ourselves because we got Wicked Weekend of the Wicked in October, but you guys this is new to you guys, like to know you're doing a con like this too. Is it like the week after Comic-Con happens in October, you start announcing for April, or is there gonna be some overlap on that stuff? Do you guys know what your plans are for announcing?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, obviously the plan right now is to hopefully within the next week or two finish up everything for Weekend of the Wicked, get that out there with that being closer. The day after this technically airs, Jay and I will be down in Portland meeting with the Cross and doing any marketing meeting and putting all those things in place for an official announcement through them and get it up on their billboard and whatnot. And once I think we have that official announcement, I think it's one of those where we have enough time that I would say by July already start pushing out the guests, because we want to obviously move those ticket sales, and we have a number of amazing guests already lined up and more to come. So I would say most likely by July at the latest we would start at least making announcements for it.
I think the biggest thing right now is just trying to stay as little confusing as possible.
Yes,
absolutely.
And I feel like a lot of people are very confused by what's going on. So I think once we get through these next two, it'll be smooth sailing going forward, because the people down in Portland now will officially know what we're doing and when. Because one of the comments I saw at the beginning that cracked me up was we announced that we were moving down there, but it was like I don't know, maybe the 25th or something, that I saw a comment. Somebody had shared our post about coming to Portland, but it's for the 28th next year. So somebody commented on it and said, "Oh, wow, their marketing is sad. How am I just finding out about this? Is there any D&D painting or something like that?" And I responded, I was like, it's a year from now. We just announced it on Saturday.
And no one looked at the dates, because the dates of the con would have been like Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, or something like that. And it's like not even like
Yeah.
So,
and it was just funny, but it showed me, because you have people down in Portland that are confused because they're like, wait, is this happening now? Did this already happen? When is this happening?
They're like, what about this year?
Yeah. And then you've got the people in Bangor that unfortunately are feeling like Will and I are abandoning them somehow, and for us, it's like, it's one of those things where, like, I know it's a small percentage. I know that the majority of people, from what we've seen, are very happy with what we're doing. They're very proud of what we're doing. They can't wait to see where we take it. But then you've got the couple people that are like, listen, I have no care in going to Portland. I love the fact that this was in Bangor and I didn't have to travel somewhere to go.
Yes.
And that's fine, and we appreciate that. But at the same time, at the end of the day, we want to make this grow as much as we can, and we have to work with what we've got. And a lot of people don't know those inner workings or what we have to go through to make this happen. And I understand that. There's a lot of stuff that goes on, but it's all like on-job training for Will and I and all of our staff. So, I mean, anybody that's listening that may think that or whatnot, like, it can't be further from the truth. I mean, all Will and I are doing is trying to continuously grow and make this as big as we possibly can. And being in Maine, that's hard enough. It's hard enough to start. It's hard enough to maintain and then grow. And the fact that we're doing all of those
constantly, like to Jay's point,
I can't apologize.
Right. Yeah, like, and to Jay's point, like, we even had a person that commented and was like, Well, it's not really an expansion by any means. And if anything, it's more of like a big like fu to Bangor and all the people that have stood by you, because all you're doing is moving to Portland. And with that, he did this the day before we announced that the weekend of the Wicked and going back to the arena. So it was more like, what if like that's a giant foot in mouth moment. But I even like, responded, I was like, yeah, like as we've already said, like I didn't even want to argue. I'm like, how, like I want to be like, how is this not expansion?
Yeah.
Because we're expanding, we're doing a new event in a new city. That is expansion, that is growth. But like we're like, again, as we said, nothing's happening to Bangor. Like Bangor is home. We're still doing an event here. Like we're not saying screw you to Bangor. It's we want to grow, and Bangor is great, and we continue to grow here. But our growth here will be our own demise. And if we want to be able to, continue to grow this and make it what we know it can be, and what like our mentor Mike Broder and even Steve at Rhode Island, sees our event being able to be, then for the next logical step for that to happen is to do it down in Portland. And we'll still have BCTC. It's not going anywhere. It'll just now be in October. It'll still be a great big great event. It's just not going to be the scale of Portland, because there's so much more that can be done in Portland than can be done here.
And let's be honest, if you guys knew about the opportunity to be in Portland prior, like back in October, there's a small possibility you would have postponed April to October. You would have just done, you know what I mean? You would have just done one in April and then just done it in October and then done the next one in April. There's a possibility you guys could have done that too. Things would have changed if you knew more information pre-October of 2021, just to plan out the year and make it more smooth. Because, having BCTC in October and then again in April, and then it's going to happen again in October. It's like, can be kind of confusing. But yeah, you're going from a town that has like 200,000 people within a couple square miles of us, and then there's 1 million people within a couple square miles. Pretty sure that's an expansion or a growth of the
Well, we've looked it up. So in Bangor, you're looking at 32,000 in population. In Portland, we're looking at 70 without tourist season.
And that's also not including the surrounding communities.
New Hampshire's not that far. All the towns.
New Hampshire's not that far. Like there's the
Amtrak
people that you
from
draw,
Boston.
right? That's huge. So it is a big thing to go to Portland.
Flights for us, a lot of it is just like, and
direct
again,
flights.
It's direct flights. Again, it's not ignorance as an insult. It's ignorance in the fact that there's a lot of people that do not understand the inner workings of what this takes. And there's so many little things that are against us being in Maine specifically. So the fact that we're even able to do what we did, the fact that we survived the pandemic, quote unquote, survived the pandemic, when there was a lot of shows that were bigger than ours, like it actually benefited us in a little bit of a way that we were a smaller event, because when we talk to other show runners or owners of agencies, when they talk about the difference in numbers, where like, say you had 100,000 people that came to your show, but now because of the pandemic, you only had 30,000 people. That's a huge cut. But for us, where we were only expecting usually around 6,000 people, to still bring in around 6,000 people, to us, that's a huge win. And to other people, they're like, well, what was your percentage loss? We're like, well, we didn't lose a huge percentage, but again, our number wasn't super high to begin with. But to them, the fact that your percentage wasn't that much of a difference is a very big win, if that makes sense.
We went from like 6.5 to like 5.7. So I mean, we lost maybe 1,000 people, but for us, like you factor, like for us, we get a lot of Canadian traffic as well, and the borders being closed. But you like Jay saying, you go from a convention like say a Rhode Island or a Fan Expo or Steel City, that's 70,000-80,000 people, and now you're down to almost half that, a little over half that attendance, like, and you're bringing in these massive names and contracts, and that's that a lot of, like they said, a lot of conventions didn't even survive. Like a lot of these conventions that did something during the pandemic are no more. So the fact that you guys even survived the pandemic is a testament to you guys and what you're able to do.
And with your size, you don't have a lot of I used to work for a concert promotion company that if they didn't do the next year's festival, like the owner of the concert company, like house would be up, like gone, because he mortgaged his house to do it. Like the next year's festival pays the bills for this year's festival, if that makes any sense. So like when he went to put the festival on, it's like if next year's festival didn't happen, his life would be screwed. And so at least you guys are at the point where like you were able to postpone these things smallly. And there's some behind the scene things that people don't need to know about where money was and all that stuff. Not bad things. I'm just saying like there was some hiccups along the way with the changing venues and the pandemic and all that stuff but it wasn't like if you guys had to postpone again and didn't do October and it had to be in April, you guys would still like have your houses. You still would have food on the table. There's still like, so there's a benefit to you guys.
I'd have more food up.
Yeah. 6,000 people was as the size that's good. So in the same sense, like, and think about it, you went from 5.7 to 75. That's a massive increasement. And then there's no more, you guys can't do more. Like if another 1,000 people came over the weekend to Bangor Mall on that weekend, it would have not felt good. I'll tell you that. It would have felt good in your pockets, obviously, because it would have been more money in the pockets of ACTC. But it would have been a very, very unusual and uncomfortable thing in that space. So there's not really much you can do with that in that space. Space. Yes. Yeah. So going to the Cross Insurance Center will be huge, and then going to the Cross Insurance Arena in Portland will be even bigger because again, Portland's a big arena. There's more people around there and all that stuff. So I'm super excited. I mean, I know there's like it's different too because I get to be a little bit more behind the scenes and see what's the comings and goings of things. But like, it's definitely a fun thing for you guys. And I love like, dude, every time I see you guys do something, I'm so proud of you guys. I hate it. I don't want to get all gushy on you guys, but like, I love you guys to death. And like seeing you guys do something you guys are really passionate about and be successful at it. It's like, come on, you know, like it's like, it's huge. It's absolutely huge.
I appreciate that very much. Yeah. Thank you. I mean, it's weird on our end because you guys are all with us. You're all part of the train as far as I'm concerned. So, you know, like everybody's,
sorry,
I want to be on the end.
I did one of those like really shitty, like one of those like really crappy, like wrestler promo, like cut things like like Stone Cold just instantly got that like Austin 316 thing, like it became like a household thing, or Foley Have a Nice Day. It's just like I was like just did a random video and it just stuck. So me and Jay were having a conversation and we were talking about like how we continue to grow and all these things are falling into place. And I think I was like, so like what I said was like, so get along, get on board the train or get run over or something. I was like, choo choo. And Jay's just like, he's like, you guys are on the train or get along the train or like, train's moving along. So it's just like that's become like a
get on the train and get out of the way because we're running your ass over.
Oh, exactly. It's just huge. So I mean, I don't know. We could talk forever, but I feel like it's cool to me to see, like, again, I'm going to say it over and over again. Every time you guys come on, I'm going to say, go to your local conventions, your Comic-Cons in your area. I don't care if they're in an armory and there's 3 comic book guests and 1 celebrity. I don't care if you go to a Rhode Island Comic-Con where there's 130 guests, or if you're lucky enough to go to San Diego where it's the mega of Comic-Cons. Go to one if it's your local backyard one, because you'll get memory. I promise you will get memories. If you're into that stuff, you'll get memories you will remember forever and ever and ever and ever. And I still reeling about the death of George Perez this week, because one of my favorite people I've ever met at a convention ever will always be one of my favorite comic book people ever, because of a small convention in Massachusetts that he took the time out to take a photo with me, sign some comic books, and draw me a picture. It just small things that do this too, and you only get that, I think, for your local con. Go to your big cons, but like your local, 6,000 to 10,000, maybe 12,000 people attendees cons, because those are the ones that you're actually going to get the memories of a lifetime. Go to the big ones too. I'm not saying that anything bad about the big ones, but like it's literally the Bangor Mall having a Comic-Con is huge, and I get to meet people and say hi to people that you never thought you'd ever have an opportunity to do. And it's really cool. And I have it on my studio here. I've got Scream behind me. I've got Friday the 13th over there.
I've been like, actually, I was kind of picking out things. I'm like, I think you got that at the last show.
You can't see it up there, but up there is Escape from New York. We got Friday the 13th. We got Scream. I got, I met Ben Bishop, obviously one of my favorite comic book artists at cons. And, I've got a picture on my desk. It's hard to see, but it's George Perez.
Of Ben?
Yeah. It's George Perez drawing. He's actually sharpieing a Thanos for me, and nice. So he's on my desk, so it's really cool. So your local comic book cons are the best thing to do because it's so much fun, and I'm excited. So you can go to BangorComicAndToyCon.com to buy tickets for Weekend of the Wicked, the 29th to the 2nd of October, or 29th of September the 2nd of October. And then Maine Comic and Toy Con for more information about that Comic-Con. Announcements and tickets and all that stuff will be coming soon to that. But like, I'm so excited. Like, I'm so excited. Like, it's so much fun.
It's it's going to be a whole other animal. And like, we can't wait. Like, you know, some of the behind the scenes stuff and like that big contract that we just signed. And, it's just a whole nother level. Like, like me and Jay are saying, like, it's, a lot of things to try to like compare themselves to what we're doing with our convention. And, this will be like that piece when we announce this, that just there leaves no doubt behind that we're on a whole nother level from anything else going on in the, in this state.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
We're not Rhode Island, but we're definitely about to make a big move.
We get some, it blows my mind how often we have stuff up our sleeves. Like, I constantly am like, oh my God, I can't believe we're doing this. And then it's like, oh my God, we have this on deck, and holy crap, how do I not tell people about this? How long do we have to wait, dude?
Well, that's the thing. It's like, everyone's like, oh, you guys excited? Like, because, we knew about Portland, and a few of us, a few of our staff knew about Portland, but a lot of people had no clue. And they're just like, oh, you guys excited for April? Like, April's going to be crazy. And we're like, trying to be excited, like, because we are excited, but it's like, yeah, but like, we're already so focused on this other thing that like, we can't, like, our minds are already past, like, we're like, we just want April to be over with so we can just dive into this, and just announce this. So when we finally able to do that Saturday and come in that Sunday and just see, the warm reception from so many people and vendors that are excited, and artists like Ben Bishop wasn't here, but we've talked with Ben, Joseph Schmalke, all those guys are like, how crazy is it that we are based in Portland, we live in the greater Portland area, and we are not accepted or part of any convention that happens in Portland. So when people ask, like, oh yeah, like what's your hometown convention? You guys got a convention in Portland? Like, well, our hometown convention's Bangor Comic and Toy Con. It's a 2.5-hour drive up, but that's the main convention as far as anything goes. Like, that's the convention, and that's, I guess, technically our hometown convention, because Celebration, I'll throw that out, like, there. Yeah. But it's a one-day smaller thing. But as far as a weekend-long convention of our, as far as that piece goes, we're the only thing here for them. Like, there's multiple conventions in Portland, but they're not part of them.
Yeah. And so it's exciting. And so there's a whole big thing. So keep your eye out for that, because Wicked of the Wicked's coming up first. And we're excited about that because, yes, Bangor is where this started. So they'll always be there for that. And just what it becomes in the future depends on people wanting to come. And so if you're still excited about coming to the Bangor Comic and Toy Con, get your asses to Bangor, on October or September 30th or October 2nd, because that's what's going to show people that you want to be there. And if you're not there and you're like, oh, so pissed off that they did, they're moving it to Portland, then come in October. Well, I don't understand.
Here's your chance.
Like, so,
hey,
it always comes home.
Before we get done here or anything, but like, it's like, keep in mind too, we've never been in the arena in Bangor.
Yeah, that's huge.
We're going to the arenas. So, I mean, if anything, it's going to be our biggest venue that we've ever had. So we're definitely not getting smaller or forgetting about anybody.
I'll leave this with you guys right here. You guys are about to put a convention on the same floor that they did a UFC fight.
Elton John was in that same.
Elton John played there. So like, think about that. Like a UFC fight, Elton John's played there. Like, that's where you're going to be on the same floor. You can say when you guys were in the ballroom, it's different. It's a kind of it's a side section of the venue. You're going to be on the same place that Elton John played it. I'm saying, because I've been to a UFC fight there. It's like you're there in Bangor, and that's where you're going to be going. You can't go any bigger in Bangor.
No, this is it. So the only thing we can do from there is expand it into the ballroom. If we got to take over the whole place eventually, then we'll take over the whole damn place. But
hey, I'm not ruling it out.
No, not at this point. And like you said, with Weekend of the Wicked, with what we're going to tease on Saturday, it's going to be
huge.
Yes.
Huge. Check it out, guys. Definitely check it out. And Jay, I got to get in to get a tattoo, man. It's been too long. So we got to get that hooked up at some point.
Well, yeah, we got to get you on my books, man. I'm finally almost caught up. So let's do it.
There you go. That's what you always say. And then you're not anymore. like that. Not anymore. We were
I
shooting
just
the shit.
opened my books and they're closed.
Closed. Yes. Like I'm like, you didn't even let me type a word. I couldn't even text you. No. But yeah.
And we just invested your money and it's gone.
Yes, exactly. Follow them on Bangor Comic and Toy Con on social media. Go to bangorcomicandtoycon.com, Maine Comic and Toy Con, all that stuff. So check that out.
Do it.
Right yeah. Go like it. We're almost at within a week. We're almost at 1,000 likes on the Maine Comic and Toy Con page. So go be our 1,000th like. You'll probably already miss it by the time this comes out, but still like it anyways.
Do it. Bam.
See you guys.
See you, buddy.